2, 1. Boosters ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
That gets your juices flowing, doesn't it? Okay, Artemis, NASA's test rocket, Artemis, to lay the ground to work to begin bringing Americans back to the moon. Well, it's officially in flight. On top of Artemis 1 is the Orion crew capsule. Right now, it's got a few mannequins in there. Don't talk much, very quiet group.
Right.
But next for the Artemis launch, astronauts will be inside.
Well, we take a lot of pride in that here in Colorado because it was designed and built by a Lockheed Martin team here in Littleton. And Heather McKay is the Senior Manager of Engineering Development for Lockheed Martin's Orion program. She joins us now. So talk about the design and build process. What happened here in Colorado?
Yesterday, the launch of Artemis 1 was such a historic and exciting time, I think for the world and for the nation as we kick off the Artemis era, as you talked about. But for us at Lockheed Martin and those in Littleton, there are thousands of people that have spent over a decade working on this spacecraft to get to this point. So it was extra special. We built some of the structural components and the heat shield that will get tested as we re-enter, some of the avionics boxes, the computers, and we do a bunch of the software testing and the integrated system level structural testing right here in Colorado. So it's a huge event. So far, everything seems to be working well, and we're looking forward to learning about our spacecraft over the next 25 days.
There is so much. I have to ask you, though, how have you been feeling for the last few weeks? Because it's one thing to be excited and spend decades when you say working on something, and then it was like, oh, delay, oh, delay.
Yes, absolutely. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. We try to remember that the journey of over 1 million miles often begins with a scrub. So we worked through those issues, and yesterday it was, from excitement to, nail biting nervousness. And I'm sure that's how it's going to be over these next few weeks. We test as much as we can on the ground, but there's no substitute for deep space. And the spacecraft is going further than any human-rated spacecraft has ever gone before, 280,000 miles away from the Earth.
Heather, everyone gets excited for a launch, and you talked about the heat shield, and everyone certainly gets excited and nervous when it comes to reentry. But take us through what's going to happen here. What are we going to see over these next few days and weeks of this trip?
We're going to put Orion through its paces and test out all the systems. Already, we have had a couple of big events with the solar arrays deploying 18 minutes after flight, the main engines burning on the European Space Agency provided service module. On day 6, Monday, we will see Orion fly within 80 miles of the moon. We will see the avionics systems go through the Van Allen radiation belts and be exposed to deep space flight radiation. Our crew life support systems will all be tested to make sure they can function with crew. And then that heat shield, when we return, it's 25,000 miles an hour that the spacecraft returns at. That heat shield gets 5,000 degrees, half the temperature on the surface of the sun before it splashes down into the Pacific on December 19th. So each of those events we'll be looking to learn and understand about our spacecraft.
So those mannequins aren't from the men's department at Macy's. They are giving you a lot of data as well as far as what the humans, the astronauts, will be needing to face or facing when they go on top of the capsule.
Absolutely. They have radiation sensors included in them to see what the crew will experience, as well as to understand the loads in dynamic environments for the crew. There are a couple other payloads floating around. There's a Snoopy that you probably saw on the launch. That's a G indicator. And also Amazon Alexa is on board. There's a payload called Callisto. Lockheed Martin collaborated with Cisco and Amazon to put an Alexa on board and understand how this kind of technology could be used with the crew for future missions. So if you have an Alexa at home, you can actually say, Alexa, take me to the moon, and she'll give you updates on Orion as it goes through its mission.
Alexa's doing that right now for everyone that just heard.
A lot of people
well,
listening.
It's so much exciting. I hope you guys have what will be a magical Christmas, because it sounds like all the good stuff is going to happen right before Christmas for all of you. So thank you, Heather McKay. And that's wonderful. It's so exciting. Colorado's been so invested for decades in this. So
thanks, Heather. We appreciate it.